My name is Kevin. Today I'm going to talk to you about the science of lichen sclerosus. The main symptom of lichen sclerosus is these thin white patches of skin around the vulva and anus. These white patches of thin skin, they're so thin that it becomes very fragile. Intercourse becomes very painful. It might be itchy, it might be inflamed. If this sounds like you, if you have these super thin patches of skin around that area, you might have lichen sclerosus. Today I'm going to talk to you about its symptoms, the causes, as well as the various treatment options that are available. First of all, with lichen sclerosus, healthy skin has many layers of tissues. You're gonna have exfoliation at the top, and then you're gonna have many layers, and then you have blood vessels supplying blood to the skin, and then there might be 10, 20, 50, 100 layers of the skin that supply. These are your blood vessels bringing supplies here. And every few days, just constantly, the top layer is just flaking off in exfoliation, and then new layers are being made. Well, with lichen sclerosus, when skin is very thick, it also is stretchy, it's also bouncy. It has like lots of collagen and elastin in it. Well, with lichen sclerosus, the layers have been reduced to maybe just one or two layers, and because it's just one or two layers, that's why the skin with lichen sclerosus is so fragile, so easily to rip, so easy to bleed. One of the reasons why I'm able to speak on this is because the company I work for, NeuEve, founded by my mom, a gynecologist, we've actually been able to help thousands and thousands of women with lichen sclerosus, so we know about what we're talking about here. One thing that happens a lot that we see is that when skin is thin, even sex is basically impossible. It's so painful. Even oral sex is painful. Even sometimes laughing can cause bleeding. So that is what lichen sclerosus is. What causes lichen sclerosus? So unfortunately right now, the cause of lichen sclerosus is still unknown. But the main culprit that people believe, if you talk to your doctor, if you go online, do any research, the main culprit is autoimmune. What does autoimmune mean? Autoimmune means that it is related to your own body somehow declaring that your own cells are bad guys. If your body thinks that this skin is a bad guy, then your own body's white blood cells are gonna come and attack your own skin. Previously, you had many layers of skin here. Your own body's gonna be attacking your own layers of skin until it all sheds off, and then you're just left with this final one or two layers. That's what science currently believes is the cause. So now that we know what the symptoms are, what's happening with your skin, let's talk about the various treatment options that we have. Option one is steroid creams. So how do steroid creams work? If it is the case that autoimmune issues are causing lichen sclerosus, what steroid creams do is they block your own immune system from working. If your own immune system is not working, then your own immune system won't keep attacking these. So the steroid blocks your own immune system. So basically, when the steroids go up, your immune system goes down. Previously, it was blocking your skin collagen, elastin, and thickness. And so now your collagen, elastin, and thickness go up. That is how the steroid creams work to fix lichen sclerosus. As you can see, unfortunately though, what happens when your immune system is down? Well, you're going to get side effects. If your immune system is blocked and down, other infections are going to go up. Because if your immune system is weaker, then everything else that your body is supposed to defend against, it's not going to defend against anymore. That is the trade-off with steroid creams. It is effective, it helps. However, it leads to these other side effects. Let's talk about laser vaginal rejuvenation. Here's your layer of skin tissue, and then here is the blood vessels feeding it. What laser vaginal rejuvenation does, takes a laser gun and it punches a hole through the skin like that. They're just aerating blood. Or another way to think about it, it's similar to derma rollers. If you have your skin and then you just take some metal and stab through it, the laser gun is moving along and punch, and as it punches holes, it triggers a healing response. Your body has to respond to all of these micro injuries triggers a healing response, and then the healing response brings in blood flow, and the blood flow brings nutrients and platelets. It brings nutrients, platelets, everything in the repair, whatever else your body uses to repair things, it brings it all back. And then when your body is trying to repair all this, then it's going to make the layers of skin thick again. So it brings these nutrients, platelets, repairs, which causes lots of collagen, elastin, as well as layers of skin to come back. So laser vaginal rejuvenation is also pretty effective. It does work. What's downsides of this? Downside number one is that it is pretty expensive. Sometimes it's $2,000, sometimes $3,000. Generally speaking, it's not covered by insurance. And the other issue is that where you're punching holes through the skin, here you're using lasers to punch holes through your skin. Well, what happens if the laser is not calibrated well? They think that your skin is this thin, but actually it's much thinner than it is. This punching holes part can be dangerous. You can go online and look up FDA adverse events, and you can see for yourself. There are a lot of injuries. I'm not sure what the percentage of injuries are, but there you can read up. Every single injury gets documented in FDA adverse events for these things. You're not supposed to be injured by lasers, but they're very powerful and they can injure you. That's the strength and that's the downside of laser vaginal rejuvenation. Let's go over here to talk about platelet-rich plasma shots. So, what do we see here? Well, we see if we can get a healing response, we can get blood flow, nutrients, platelets, repairs, and collagen elastin. That's the idea of platelet-rich plasma shots. What you do for that is you get strapped up to a chair and then they draw your blood. They draw a decent amount of blood and then they go through your blood and they're gonna purify it until they get just all of the platelets. So you draw blood, that's step one. Now you harvest what's called platelets from the blood. Let's say you accidentally cut yourself or whatever. Platelets are what causes your blood to clot and clog, but it causes you to stop bleeding. It's the thing that stops you from bleeding out every time you just cut yourself a little bit. So you harvest all the platelets from the blood. These are little like healing blood cells basically. So you harvest all of them and then you put them super concentrated into a syringe. You inject these platelets directly onto the area. So in this case, if this was our thin patch of skin that we wanted to help, we would take a needle with a syringe with all of our platelets in it and just directly inject it straight into here. And then boom, you got all your platelets right here. So once your body sees a bunch of platelets here, then it triggers a healing response, just like with the lasers. And just like with the lasers, once the healing response happens, now your body's saying, oh my God, we have to heal this area. We gotta bring a lot of blood flow. We gotta bring a bunch of nutrients, more platelets, more repairing. And then once all of this happens, then your body brings collagen, elastin, and lots of layers of skin. So that is how platelet-rich plasma shots work. What are the downsides of this? Well, similar to the other one, usually this is not covered by insurance, usually very, very expensive. Much less risk of injury compared to the laser, so that's another plus on that. I mean, the other thing though is that you're gonna have to keep repeating this. You heal it once, it's gonna feel better for a while, but after a few months, a year or two, it's gonna go back the way it was, and then you're gonna have to repeat. So you're gonna have to bring out a lot of money and just keep on this cycle for a very long time. So now let's talk about NeuEve. Seeing how all of these treatments work, let's talk about how NeuEve works. We look at this, we look at all these different options, and we say, okay, the lasers and the platelets, their whole thing they're trying to do is they're trying to find ways to trick the body into sending lots of nutrients and repairing in order to generate collagen, elastin, and a lot of skin, and a lot of skin layers. What NeuEve is a vaginal suppository that's inserted inside the vagina. This vaginal suppository is loaded with nutrients that promote collagen, elastin, that feed thickness of the skin. That's not the only thing we do. So we have a salve that is used externally to nourish the vulva as well. We also have a bunch of supplements that are ingested orally that help to carry nutrients through the blood flow as well. Here's our breakthrough that no one else really thinks about. And I think people know this, but just no one really thinks about it and no one really uses it. The fact that the vaginal canal is full of blood vessels. There's so many blood vessels in the vaginal canal, and these blood vessels are very close to the surface of the skin here. The vaginal canal is really good at absorbing nutrition, much better than when you're digesting them through your stomach. There's a lot of stomach acid, it's just breaking everything down, and if you're eating something through the stomach, it's got to travel through your whole body. And so the amount that actually finally reaches, let's say, your vulva skin is very, very small. The idea behind NeuEve is just nutrient overload. We put a bunch of nutrients into the vaginal canal. It goes to the different blood vessels through here. It goes beyond these blood vessels too to promote thickness in these little patches of skin, as well as our salve. It's loaded with nutrients that also promote elastin in skin as well as our supplements. So when you use NeuEve, you're basically pumping up nutrients all over this area, which leads to collagen synthesis, elastin synthesis, and your layers of skin becoming thicker. So that's basically how we approach lichen sclerosus. Let me know if you guys have any questions. So far, we have been able to help thousands and thousands of women with our approach. Everything's all natural, everything's food grade. Let me talk to you guys about the plans too. Okay, let's say this is your skin. Depending on your age, if you are under 45, or if you are 45 to 70, or if you're 70 plus. So if you're under 45, you would start off with the silver suppositories, plus our salve, plus our 2 supplements, bone support, as well as our multivitamin. The silver is a very highly concentrated suppository, and the salve and then bone support and multivitamin, these are supplements that help provide lots of calcium, vitamin D, as well as a lot of other vitamins. Because it has been shown that a lot of times vitamin deficiency, nutrient deficiency can lead to a lot of skin issues. So that's what you would use if you're under 45. 45 to 55, you start with silk, salve, and these 2 supplements as well. And then you would stay on this for a few months, maybe 1 to 4 months. Then you'd move up to the silver. And if you're 55 plus, you start with our velvet. Silk and silver are the same thing. It's just that silk is 3 times less concentrated than silver. The idea is that when your skin is thinner, when issues are more severe, the absorptive capacity of your skin is much less. The amount of nutrients we give it is going to be less nutrients, but more often. I guess the analogy I'd use is like this. Imagine you rescue a dog who has been living on the streets for the past half a year and hasn't had a good meal in a very long time. Let's say you're trying to feed this dog a little bit of food to help nourish it back to life. If you have a dog that's been starving a very long time, its stomach is going to be very, very thin. And so if you feed this dog like a lot of food immediately, it's going to get sick, it's going to throw up, things are not going to go well. If you have a dog that needs to be nourished back to life, you got to give it many small meals very often. And that's what we do for this as well. So the velvet is 1x nutrients, silk is 3x, and silver is like 9x. Silver has 9 times more nutrients than the velvet. So you use the velvet very often, something like every 3 days. You would use it every day after you use these suppositories. A certain amount is going to leak out because there's so much nutrients in these suppositories that extra will leak out the next morning. If you're on velvet, once it stops leaking out, then you move up to the silk, which is 3 times higher. And then once that stops leaking out in the next morning, then you move up to the silver, which is 9 times higher than the velvet. And then once the silver is no more leaking out, then you move up to the gold, which is 27 times higher than the velvet. If you're 55 plus, you start with the velvet. If you're 45 to 55, start with the silk. If you're under 45, start with the silver. Feel free to email us. We're here to help you. Super important thing. Our cost is way, 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 way lower. This is about $53 per month for this instead of Over here, each of these other treatments is going to cost you thousands and thousands. For us, it's $53 a month for the suppositories, for the salve, another $53 a month, and then for the supplements, about $32 a month. Thank you for listening to me, and if you are someone with lichen sclerosus, I want you to know that you're not alone and that help is possible. We're here to see how much we can help you, and that's helping people is what makes us inspired, and that's what makes us want to wake up every morning and work hard. So, thanks.